store here, the original store,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then you
it was
got what across the street?
the apartment house had 5 apartments in it.
But before that, it
It
was
was a blacksmith shop and
When-
where they ground.
Start with, and then my
When was
dad
it built?
turned it into apartment house.
okay.
That
This
was-
house was built in 1923 or 4, something like that. When was that apartment house built? The blacksmith shop.
Oh, what year was it?
That was built,
By the,
I'd say in 1929, somewhere along there. It was right after we moved over here.
Okay, so you built that. And it was originally for a blacksmith shop.
Well, they had an automobile shop in one part of it, and a blacksmith in the other part.
and you ground some corn or something
Yeah,
in
they
one
had
of
a
it.
corn mill, later turned the automobile shop in, I believe, into a corn mill.
But what year was it your daddy turned it into apartments?
Let's see. That was, the corn mill was never in that building. It was another building out here that corn mill that they told them was in. Well as I remember.
But what year did they turn that apartment house into? Golly, I can remember way back in the 40s, early
It
40s.
was
'cause,
way before then.
oh, I know it, because I said I remember that far back.
Oh.
So you got a dirt road, and you got the shopper there. Is he repairing automobiles or working on the engines?
What now?
The auto shop. What does it do?
Worked on cars.
Mechanics.
P's and A's and B's. That's 19.
Hatch tires, I reckon. And
Well, the man left here and worked on the automobiles and went to South Boston in 1927. And
that was Mr. Wilburn.
that's right. And my daddy, no, I'm on 27, it was after that, because I bought an Oldsmobile from him. 38 Oldsmobile. It must have been in the early 30s when they built that thing over into apartment house.
Okay, so it was built in 27? 29?
24. That says built in 2026.
And then you converted it to apartments in 30.
In the 30s, I know.
In the
when I
30s?
used to, it was there when I used to remember coming to your daddy's store. Boy, I
Yeah.
knew who you were.
How long was this a dirt road?
Well, see, that dirt road was going across the main highway here.
Mhm.
That cement road was built in, I'd say 26 or 27.
So you got cement road in 26,
They put
27.
It was a dirt road, and they put cement on it.
Okay.
They kept the mules right down here when they built it.
What do you mean kept the mules?
They
Where
kept
they worked on the road.
They
Oh.
had to work on the road. They
They
used
had
mules.
mules,
They
yeah.
didn't have
They didn't have bulldozers.
modern equipment then.
When did
thought
they,
about that.
when did they change the direction of the, or when did they put this highway in? When was that? When did they pave it?
Well, at first it was paved just like it was when it was a dirt road, wasn't it?
Yeah, it paved just right over the dirt.
Just right over
Right.
the dirt.
You mean with asphalt?
No,
cement?
it was asphalt was put on it in '53.
Oh, okay, that's what I'm asking.
But the
It was a
old
narrow cement road. It was number 13 to start with. It had so many
What a good
curves
number.
in it. They changed the name to 55. So many
The
people
number
got
you mean.
killed between here and South Boston in the curve. Narrow, Two trucks couldn't pass on it now. I mean, the trucks couldn't. They went to the road then.
Interesting.
In the old store there, you could have one car sitting in the one lane of the highway and put gas in it. That's
Yeah.
When did you put gas pumps in?
When did they put them in?
Yeah.
Oh, they had gas.
Gas one tank when you first got the store.
Oh yeah.
You pumped
Oh,
it
really?
up by hand because
Pumped
my
by
daddy had
hand.
one.
But a
Mama
glass
pumped it up on it.
hold 10 gallon.
Wouldn't
And you let it out, come down, there's numbers on mark.
Right.
Four,
I remember
Yeah.
those.
yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So you already had a tank in the ground.
Yeah. that
Yeah,
tank
the
in
pipes and all went in the house. Daddy's was on a cement porch. The gas pump set up on a cement porch around the front of the store. And it,
Right, the elevated, yeah, I remember those, elevated
and
pumps.
you'd pump it gas and it'd come up in that glass bowl and you'd tell how
The
much
reservoir,
it was.
you pump it up into the
Yeah.
reservoir and then
It had pump, yeah.
put it in the gas. When was that store burnt or torn down? How long did the original store last?
Well, nobody knows when it was built. I never could find out when it was built. It was built in the, I would think, the late 1800s.
Wow.
But this house.
Now, is it bigger than the stores there now? Or smaller?
No, it was small at first and then you added that side room on.
No, it was
Yeah.
big.
Uh-huh.
It was big at first. That's why you went under there was part of the store when we moved over here.
Yeah.
That's why the tin shop made tobacco
Oh, that's
fluid.
right.
Wow.
It was a big store.
Multi-purpose.
Spread out. Yeah.
And so, when did you build the new store?
In 1953.
And why'd you build the new store?
Huh?
Why'd you build a new one?
Because
Well,
the road was
the
going
road taking the old
to
one.
change.
It was
They
too
took it.
close to the road. They paid me for it. I got enough out of it to build a store, pave the lot, and put the gondolas in it. And then got the store.
Good deal.
And
That's-
what this house is built out of some of the timber.
This
out of
Okay,
house
so
was
you-
built out of that old store.
So you built the new store, then you tore down the old store,
Yep.
and then when you
Built this
tore down
house.
the old store. Then you built. When did you build this house?
57 on it.
No.
We started on it
56
before
you moved
that.
in.
Kathy was born in 54. We moved in it on her second birthday in 56.
So the new store was built in 53.
53.
53, and the old store torn down. Okay.
That store had boards in it that wide. Not a knot in them at all.
The old one that you tore down.
The original growth pine. Got subflooring in this house and sheeting overhead. The boards 1 inch thick, dressed with a hand plane on one side and like it came from the mill on the other one. All of them are true, 1 inch. They were just perfect.
Okay. Now I'm really curious about. You graduated from high school in 35,
Yeah,
and you graduated in 41.
41.
How did y'all meet?
That's a good question. I told them, they said, did you meet SP in the Army when he was in the Army? You know, everybody when the war started.
Yeah.
I said, no. I said, I've been coming to Roxborough since before I was born. They said, say that again? Oh, I said, got a picture to show them.
Because your
And
mother's family
my
was from.
mother's people were all
what
from
Percy
Bethel
County?
Hill.
Uh-huh. Oh,
And
Bethel Hill.
Of course,
Okay.
at least once a year, we'd come to Person County for Mama to visit her sisters and brothers, and her mama was living for a while. And we'd come down here, and sometimes, since I was the oldest girl, they'd bring me with them. Sometimes they'd bring 2 or 3. Because I know one time my brother Winfrey was born when Lindbergh made that famous flight. And Uncle Gus Woody lived down here at the Virginia line, and he named him Lindbergh.
What year was
And
that?
so he told Daddy, said, when you gonna bring Lindbergh down here to see
What
me?"
year was that?
That was
20
1927.
7, yeah,
remember
Babe
that.
Ruth. Okay, yeah, I
But
thought so.
anyway, I came down, my oldest brother, was born in 22, so he's like 2 years older than I am from February until October. Well, I'm not quite 3 years old, 2 years and a half, how many months that is anyway. And I've got a picture of my mother, all of her family. They had a family reunion, all of her brothers and sisters and their children, that were ones that had children, were there. And she had my oldest brother, Daddy, standing behind her, holding my brother BC. And my mother is pregnant with me. This is probably in August or September. And because you could tell she was pregnant, I didn't know it then. Sitting down in front of Daddy. So I've been coming before I was born because she was pregnant. So I said then, I knew R.B. Pixley and Robert Montague and all of them before I ever knew S.B. In fact, we'd ride around with R.B. and I was dating Robert Montague. But before that, we'd go up the road, my cousins and all, and we'd always stop at S.B.'s daddy's store. But I don't ever remember seeing S.B. there. I remember Willie Tingen. He had him in his store, and I'd see Willie Tingen. But then one day we stopped down at App Tuck's, then at Bethel Hill, at a place to get some gas or something. And R.B., I was with R.B. and Hazel Jones, my cousin. And S.B. was standing out there, it was on Saturday too, but I don't know what he was doing so dressed up, had on a white suit, all dressed up.
White
Yeah.
white suit,
Yeah, white suit.
pants and jacket and everything.
Yeah, I don't know whether he'd been to a wedding or what. What had you been to? You know,
I don't
you don't
remember.
Anyway,
He had a tie on.
yeah, he was.
He had a
fully
tie on
dressed.
too.
And R.B. said, "Do you see that boy out there?" And I said, "Yeah, I see it." And I said, "Who is it?" And he said, "That's S.B. Gentry. His daddy runs a store." But I said, "I stopped up at that store many times, but I don't ever remember seeing him. He was out gallivanting somewhere else already." And, so R.B. called him over to the car and introduced me to him, because we weren't, R.B. and us were dating. We'd just get together and ride around, you know, just for the fun of it. And so then R.B. came up to me at church one Sunday after that, and he said, "You remember that guy I introduced you to?" And I said, "He wants to meet you. I want you to meet him," or something. Anyway, and so I was visiting. I'd make the rounds. I'd stay at Mama's sister's. Then I'd stay at the Crutchfields one night, and then I'd stay at Mama's brother's, Uncle Gus's, down at the Virginia line. And I was down at Uncle Gus's then. And so R.B. said, "We gonna come down there." And I said, "How long you gonna be down at Mr. Gus's?" And I said, "Well, I'm supposed to go back to Aunt John's tonight." So they said, well, R.B. said, "We're gonna come down here and we'll take you back to your Uncle X." And so they came down there and it was pouring down, raining like cats and dogs. And they took me back over to Uncle X where I was staying. Sometimes I'd stay a week, sometimes 2 weeks. And then, I don't know, we just started dating.
Is this during the summertime?
Yeah, summertime.
Okay.
You were how old? 16, 17?
14.
Oh, you were only 14.
14 or 15.
Oh.
You're dating at 14,
Yeah,
and you're coming here for during summer break.
yeah.
In school.
Out of school, yeah.
Do you remember how old you were when you started dating her?
He's 6 years older than
I was trying to see if you remember. What do you remember about your first date?
I don't remember.
You better kick him, Mom.
We went to a show up at the Palace of the Dolly Madison. There's 2 theaters in Roxborough.
Where?
But all of them, the gang went out. I think you had to stop 2 or 3 times and check out some cars where they parked, and y'all would do something to upset them or something, turn their seats over or something, like in Bill Joe Barrett's car or somebody's parked on the street. They'd find a car that didn't lock the cars. And then we went to the theater.
Oh, wait a minute. You lost me there. What are you doing? You going through the
going
cars?
to the theater in
Yeah.
Roxborough, but in along on the way,
On the way,
if they'd see one of that buddy's cars, they
a
would
buddy's car.
do something to him. Just get out there and
You mean take her with the car?
just
Apparently
not
turn the
mess it
seats
up.
down
Just
and-
turn your seats down, or
Oh.
do something to
Oh, you
make
think
them
that's a
wonder
joke?
what.
Because they didn't. Could they lock the cars?
They didn't lock it.
But they could.
They could have.
They have a
right?
capability of locking the cars.
People didn't lock cars and houses
Oh, you
either
didn't
then.
lock your house.
No,
you
we
went
didn't.
anywhere.
We didn't ever lock our
You didn't
house.
have to.
So you're going to the movie at the Palace.
Yeah, well,
Where's it?
it was right along about
Where's it located?
right there on Main Street in Roxborough. They had two right next
What's
to
it?
each
Where
other.
was it in relationship to the Kirby?
Oh, the Kirby. They hadn't heard of the Kirby.
I know, but
then.
where was it in relationship to the
It's
Kirby?
on, up the street going south from there.
Going south, further, on the other side of the courthouse.
Yeah. Just on.
Right across the street from the courthouse.
Yeah, right.
Ah,
along it.
okay. What was the show?
I don't know. I don't
Nobody
remember
remembers
that.
what the movie was?
Nobody-
Your first
No.
date and you don't remember what you went to see.
No.
What year was it?
Well, it was, let's see.
34.
See, when I did my
38.
mother, she knew the date. She knew the.
Oh, yeah. I'm
She
sure
knew who my
she-
You
father
were
was
probably older
dating.
than 14 years old too, wasn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was going
Who was the
on-
star of the movie? Clark Gable or? It wasn't Jimmy Stewart because he's the same age as y'all. So it'd have to be Gable or Errol Flynn, Douglas Fairbanks.
I've never heard of Flynn. I don't know.
I wouldn't have no
I
idea.
don't think I can.
So you went to the movie. Did you go to eat first and then the movie, or was there any restaurant
Oh,
or
they
food
always
involved?
had something before the movie started. They'd have a thing flashing on the screen where they'd play music or sing or do something.
About what? Food?
Advertisement. They had a lot.
But I'm saying that did y'all go get a supper first and then go to the movie?
No,
Was that part of the date?
No, we didn't.
The date was just strictly
we
the
just
movie,
went to us then.
just the
And
movie.
sometimes we'd go, Dave would have been around with R.B. and his girl he married. Because R.B. introduced me to S.B. and S.B. introduced R.B. to
How old
his
was
wife.
R.B.?
Well, R.B.
If you're
is
14,
saying-
how old is he? Like 6 years older?
He's saying, how much older is
I'd say
You older
RB
than
was
RB.
about the same age as I
you
was.
and R.B.?
I might have been a year older
I
than
think
him.
you older than R.B.
So RB is a 20-year-old talking to a 14-year-old trying to introduce you to him? He's 20 and you're 14?
That seemed a little strange, huh?
But see, girls were so mature then,
Yes,
the boys weren't. I remember when I was in high school, there wasn't one boy in my class that I know when they had the May Day and the May Queen and they
Yeah.
paired you off, and they paired this girl with Tom Henshaw. He was a Mormon in the class, red hair and freckle face, but he was tall, and I was to walk with him. And she was mad. She didn't want to walk with. No, I was walking with Tom Seward, and he was the short stuff. And I said, no, I wish I'd gotten Tom Henshaw. And so she wasn't going to be in it if she had to walk with Tom Henshaw. So she wanted to walk with Tom Seward. I said, well, I'll swap with you. And I didn't tell her. I was glad she's going to do it. Because he just looked like a little old boy, or something, a little kid or something.
Now, when you were growing up, what kind of relationship did you have with my mother and with Uncle Frank? Did y'all ever argue or did y'all ever interact?
There's so much difference in their ages, I don't know.
No.
Did you and Uncle Frank get along, or did you clash, or?
Well, he was gone by the time Frank created all the problems. He was in the service.
Okay. So you and Uncle Frank never did anything together,
Very little.
because he's 10 years younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Michaela's and McKenna's 10 years difference, but they'd hang out a bunch.
No, I never argued with either one of them.
So you never got in trouble at school. You never argued with anybody.
No, Your mother told you that I never argued with her.
Now that's what I'm saying. Just dawned on me because she really have any stories about y'all's
No, see, it was something I told
your
Miss
in
Stella,
relationship.
I said, you never knew what it was like to have two babies at the same time, 5 years difference.
I mean, was
Did y'all even play together, you and Aunt Merle?
Like I played cards or something sometime. I don't know.
you didn't play with you and my mother didn't play together as kids, right?
No, we played cards after later on together and all.
Now, was either one of y'all the favorite of Grandma or your
Oh
father?
yeah, Frank.
Frank was his favorite.
Yeah, I do remember saying that.
Baby.
Uncle Frank was the favorite of Grandma.
That's right.
Yeah.
She
that's
babied
right.
him.
Yeah.
She told
And
you
she
that.
said,
Yeah, she did.
she said, on
Frank was mean.
oh, I know it. I know
What do you
some
mean?
bad stories about
He
it.
was mean. That's pure mean.
Just let sleeping dogs lie.
Well,
You don't want to hear all of it.
did he get in trouble?
I know one thing, when SB and I started dating
Okay.
or something, we'd go up the road or something, and she said,
Who said?
stop by Miss Stella.
Okay.
Frank was hanging around Robin Walker's.
Yeah.
This was after we got married, and he'd have to go to town for something, and I'd go in. And she said, stop by there and go in and tell Frank to come on down here and help in his store. And I'd go in there, and the place would be full of smoke, and they would be drinking and carrying on. And I went
How old
two or
is
three
Frank?
times, and I said, Miss Stella, I'm not going in there anymore and tell Frank. Because I said, you see, it doesn't do any good. He doesn't come when you tell him to come home anyway.
How old was he?
Well, he was a teenager.
15 or so? 16, 17?
Well, let's see. I'm 4 years older than Frank.
Uh-huh.
And you were married?
Yeah.
Well, how old were we then? I've lost the dates.
Well, I got married in 47. I
Okay.
was almost 24,
23.
and SP was almost 30.
Okay, so you're about 25 and Frank's,
Yeah.
well, he's 21.
Yeah.
So he's over 20.
That's right, yeah.
He's over 20 hanging
Yeah,
out
but
down
he
there,
wasn't- he-
but she wanted to come back here and help out in the store.
walking store, yeah, that's
But-
right.
SP was already helping out in the store.
Yeah, but he'd have to go to town, so I didn't drive. And
Okay.
I just
She's just down there goofing off.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So how long did y'all date? Before you got married?
Well, most of it was long
14.
distance. I come down here. and
If you
stay
started
with-
dating him at 14 and you got married, you
Well,
dated him
see-
10 years?
Well, no, we didn't really date because I've dated all. I mean,
Okay, you dated other guys.
Yeah,
and-
but that'd just be when I'd come down
Hey,
here.
I was gone 4 years.
And then see, he was gone during the war, and we wrote, corresponded.
okay.
But I mean, we weren't serious because I was dating folks in Washington.
When did you get serious?
Well, it was about 40.
After he came
45.
back?
Yeah.
After he came back, you
Yeah,
got
he came
serious.
back in 45, and I think I got the ring in 46.
So y'all just started dating serious after he got back from the
Yeah.
war, and then within a year of the
Well,
serious
yeah, it was
dating,
more serious, and then he gave me the ring.
So she was living in
Alexandria, Virginia.
Alexandria,
I was working in Washington. I taught school in Alexandria for 2 years, and then,
you graduated from high school in 41. Did you go to college?
yeah,
Okay. I'm sorry.
went to 2 colleges. I went to Virginia, Altamont, and Bristol, Virginia. And that's when SB was drafted. He was drafted from Tennessee, and he passed through Bristol, but he couldn't stop because he was were you on a train or a bus?
train.
And he wouldn't stop. It was a junction for 5 railroads, but they wouldn't stop long enough for him to call or do anything.
Get out. There's no layover.
And
Right.
anyway, they were strict at that Baptist school. You didn't do doodlem unless they knew exactly.
Was it a college just for women?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was a junior college.
So you
2
went there
years.
for 2 years.
I went to, no, I didn't go but 1 year because I told Daddy I was not going back there. I was 375 miles from home. Couldn't get home until Christmas.
All right.
You couldn't date unless your daddy, I didn't have a mother, so Daddy had to sign for me to name it naturally. You know, Daddy didn't know anybody up there. He wasn't going to sign it. Anyway, and the only correspondence I ever got from him was he'd send him money. You know, people, the girls, students didn't have the checking accounts then like kids
So that'd
do
be
now.
cash.
Yeah, he'd send me so much money order or something. And he'd say, study hard and don't spend any money. That's all he ever wrote on those cards. On the card. And so,
Well, he's paying for the tuition, which includes
his
room and
mom-
board
Yeah,
and education.
yeah.
What did you need the money for?
What? Well, I had to have a little spending
Okay,
money
you
sometime
need some
for
spending
when
money.
we could do something.
Okay.
But I know I got put on campus for walking on the wrong street. They had one street went right there by the campus, and we got tired of walking on that same street, so we just went around the corner on Moore Street. And the violin teacher saw us, and she didn't know their names and
I
all.
can get by hold still.
Okay.
And
Ain't no trouble.
there were a whole lot of blondes up there besides me,
Blondes?
but people that had blonde hair.
Okay.
But when I'd come from church, we walked like you were in a prison gang. You had to walk to church with a student government officer and leading you into the church. If you were Baptist, you had to go to the Baptist church. You could only visit 3 times out of the year. And so the other kids from King's College and some other colleges nearby, they'd pass by real slow, and they'd holler at me and say, "Hey, I could have hair like that too for 10 cents a bottle." And I said, "No, they'd put that luxury tax on there then." I said, "No, you forgot the tax, fella." And so anyway, when we got caught, there was a girl from Florida, Lakeland, Florida, and one from Waynesville, North Carolina, that I palled around with. And we were walking on the street, and Miss Ordway, the violin teacher's on, she reported it. Then she said, the dean said, "Well, who were they?" And she said, "Well, they were those girls that go around with that blonde-headed girl. There's those two girls and that girl." So we got put on campus a little, but we had more fun while we were on campus than we worked tricks anyway. And
So you're there for 1 year.